My name is Adam Lippin, and my company is Hearme.App.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Adam Lippin, and he has created the Hearme.App. Now, before you judge anything, hear me, because a lot of folks talk, whether it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, everyone's talking, but when someone says, hey, listen to me, I actually might have a great idea. That's been kind of like a harder thing for people to, actually hear you. So I'm excited to hear about this app and learn about it. And I've, of course, done some research on it. So I want you guys out there listening and watching to hear me and hear Adam. Sir Adam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate being on your show. I'm a fan and excited to share more about Hearme and have a conversation with you.
Well, thank you. Well, tell everybody how, this app could be for single people, married people, it doesn't matter, because you could be in a full relationship 20, 30 years, but, other people might not hear you. And so give us the game on how you created this app and what problem is it solving in society?
So essentially, the problem that it's solving is sort of what you were saying earlier. Everyone talks and talks and talks and talks, and most of us don't listen. And if we're hearing someone, instead of just fully paying attention, we're formulating our response, right? So the ability for us to be listened to fully, completely, 100%, without judgment, assuming positive regard and just having someone there for you is not something many of us experience often. So Hearme is an app where you can download, and within about a minute, you're connected with someone whose only reason for being there is to see you, to hear you, to validate you, to listen to you vent, share what's going on in your mind. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to tell you what to do. They're going to be there to listen to you. And that's a lost art, and Hearme is designed to bring it back. So whenever anyone needs to get anything off their chest, regardless of what it is, we have a Hearme listener designed specifically for you for that reason, and you can connect literally in about a minute with someone.
Now, the question is, because someone's listening and saying, but Adam, what I'm talking about, it's not PC. It's very, Andrew Dice Clay. It's very George Carlin-ish. It will get me canceled now, because I'm telling you guys some of the best comedy now is, everybody's offended. But give the game on for that person who says, but my ideas, I even got kicked off of, YouTube or TikTok. These listeners, do you find them, are they in categories, or are these just licensed trained professionals who, I work in mental health, it's what you do. You're not there to judge, you're there to listen and help this person with this problem. So, give us the game on why will they hear us and, what their qualifications are.
So that's a great question. So the listeners are either Masters of Social Work students, or they're peer support specialists, or they're volunteers who've been trained and vetted. It really depends on what you're seeking. In general, when you log on, you can choose based on topic and filter. So if you want to talk about LGBTQ issues or COVID-19 or work or relationship or parenting, so you get matched with someone who has a similar lived experience of what you're looking for. In terms of PC and getting canceled and all that, we have a very simple philosophy: be respectful. And as long as you're sharing from your heart, if the listener is not available for that particular conversation, they'll say, I'm not available for this conversation. But you shouldn't go in feeling like you're going to be judged or canceled or anything like that. As long as your intention is to be honest and share what you're going through, then we're good to go.
And with that, how much is Hearme? Because someone says, oh, it's a place, okay. Even the trolls might want to listen and say, let me go try this out. But I don't know if I want to try it if it's too expensive. Is it going to cost me $100 a session?
It's going to cost you $7.99 a month. For $7.99 a month, you can use it 24/7. There will always be someone there for you. that you can share with. You will also have a journaling feature where you can write down your thoughts and you can check, and so it's very affordable. It's designed to be accessible and affordable and available for everyone. That was the mission behind it. The mission behind it is we all don't need therapy. We all can't afford therapy. Therapy is not always the most appropriate thing. The other thing that we do is we know that people feel more comfortable when they can talk to someone like themselves. So we make sure we match based on a particular, if you have a topic and or a type of person that you want to talk to. So there's a cultural relevance to it, but it's $7.99 period a month.
That is awesome. But I can hear the entrepreneur, the lonely entrepreneur, sometimes the depressed entrepreneur, even if they're crushing it, saying, hold on, Adam, for $7.99, how are you paying these people, even if they are students, because I'm only paying $7.99. Can you talk a little about how that business model, are these people angels?
No, they're not angels. So there's two things. One is we have an enterprise product. So for all of you that own businesses or want to support your employees, we have a different pricing model where we support enterprise clients. So an example of that is we work with a very large nurse staffing agencies, and we hire retired nurses who know what it's like being the PIC unit or IC unit at 4 a.m. to be the listeners for those nurses. So that's a different pricing model. And for that, we return back different things to the organization. We do a lot of programmatic stuff and communication stuff. So that's a different price point. That helps subsidize to an extent our consumer product. And in addition to that, we have a give back program. So for everyone, whether you're an enterprise or whether you're a regular person downloading the app, we have a one-to-one give back. So we partner with different nonprofit organizations and community groups where we donate that free membership to someone in their community.
Okay, awesome. Now, domestic violence, they say, was up during the COVID time. Domestic violence is, even globally where laws are changing because women are, increasing in power, God forbid they want to work and have positions and not just make children and cook and clean. Like there are cultures and countries that are really pushing campaigns. So what you have here at this model is something that needs to be done globally. Can somebody right now in Kenya or even in Ukraine, Russia, say, I want to use Hearme? Is it set up yet for the international audience?
We have, I think we're we're in every country because anywhere you can download an app. And I believe we have clients and, members in 63 countries. And in fact, based on what you're saying, it's really fascinating because you talk about issues like you were talking about domestic violence for women, right? We have members who happen to be gay, right? And they're in countries where that's illegal. And you can't have these conversations. So for people like that to be able to talk to someone and have this conversation, and the member's anonymous, we don't know your name, right? You're completely anonymous. Everything is de-identified, encrypted, etc. The cool thing is the member will see who they're talking to. They see their photo, their profile, some information about them, and the member gets to decide, is this someone I feel safe talking with? So for your example, there could be some women in some very difficult situations that can have someone to talk to vent and share what they're going through. We have resources available for people worldwide. So if someone's having a particular issue, we can give them a resource, etc. So, we can't solve all the problems, but what we can do is let people share what they're going through with a safe person.
What made you create this product?
So, for me, it's very personal. So just a bit about me. My business history is I owned a restaurant chain that I founded called Atomic Wings in New York City. It's done very well, and I sold it about 5 years ago. And then I made a really conscious decision that I needed to do something in my life that added value to the world. And my passion is helping to address loneliness and the sense of disconnection. And it comes from my personal experience growing up. I knew I was gay. I knew there was nothing inherently wrong with me. I didn't have anyone that I felt safe talking to about it. And I knew that if I did, I would feel better. So my life took on a lot of different paths, and essentially drugs and alcohol, meditation. And essentially I tried everything that I could do to avoid people and sort of hide, nothing works. So ultimately, in my 30s and 40s, I'm like, you have to learn how to make connection with people, because that was my challenge. And I know that I'm not alone, because I think Buddha and Gandhi and Muhammad and a few people like that have had original thoughts, right? So we're all basically, I'm not that unique. So I sold a company, I had a bit of money, and I'm like, I want to do something that can be really valuable. I want to make money, don't get me wrong. And this is a very mission-driven company as well.
Can you talk about, because people would think, your business doing well, having so many employees, that you'd almost be a social butterfly and want to be around people, right? Because you've seen the success. Was it just because of your sexual orientation, or were there other things that made you say, I really don't want to be around people? Because New York I'm from the Bay Area. I've been going both places for, I want to say over 20 years, but yeah, it's probably been longer than that. But it's very open. But at the same time, I want people to know maybe it wasn't as open as I thought it was, just because
I'm also a bit older than you. So times are changing for, in many ways for the better. But, loneliness, loneliness, first of all, just to put it in some context, according to Cigna, which is a big health insurance company, 61% of Americans identify as being lonely, which means they don't have anyone they can reach out when they need to share what they're going through, right? And 79% of people 18 to 22-year-old feel lonely and they don't have anyone to speak with. The Surgeon General states that loneliness is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes and worse than obesity. So loneliness is a huge issue. And it's not just, didn't just affect me, it affects a lot of people. And it's and sort of your social network is one of the major, what they call social determinants of health. So people with a strong social network are happier, healthier, live longer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a core issue in our healthcare system, and it's a core system issue that we face. So there are many reasons why people are lonely or feel lonely, but the fact is many of us, and in fact, a majority of Americans are. So it's an important, I think what we're doing is really important because it gives people the ability to share what they're going through with someone who can hear them. They feel less lonely. Your oxytocin level rises, your anxiety goes down a bit, and you can get on with your day. So I think what we do is really critical.
Okay. And he said he was much older than me. I got some grays in this hair. So, it's yeah.
Maybe the shades are making you look younger, but
Yeah, and your diet is, I'm like, he can't be that much older than me. So you're eating a good diet and staying fit. That's awesome. But it is something for people just to kind of learn, because if you're not in that community, if you're not on that side, there may be some things you don't see. And that's for every community. People say, oh, this community has it easy. It's like, that's because you don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese, but they have their own issues. Everybody does. So no, that's great to hear and learn. Now, with selling the business, can you talk about the freedom? Because there's business owners, I'm a consultant, people come to me all day, they want to buy my company for whatever million. I'm like, well, what else are you going to do in life? Are you prepared for that? You're 25, maybe 30. What else are you going to do? Because you're not going to just go sit on the beach, and relax and be happy. So can you talk about that for the entrepreneur who I'm ready to buy, build, and sell. And once you get to that point, and you do have enough money then to, live whatever life you want to live and do what you want to do, how is that feeling? What did you do to prepare for that?
So, I think at the end of the day, we all want to have a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning. That can look very different for different people. For me, it's about, I love solving problems. And for me, like starting a business.
Hey family, on November 20th through December 1st, 2022, we will have the all-inclusive Kenya trip. Now, a lot of times people have said, hey, Phil, when's the next trip we'd like to go? I want to see Africa for myself, but this is the time to go. Everything will be taken care of. All excursions are paid. You can do monthly payments. You know, they'll have safari and the 6-city tour. You will see Charlie Island, which is something that we did not see last time on the tour. This tour will be 12 days instead of 7 days. So make sure to secure your place on the trip by going to www.wbsvs.com, make your deposit, and then you can start making your payments, and we'll see you in Kenya.
So, you know, at the end of the day, I think all of us want to have a sense of purpose and meaning. It's what really feeds us, right? It's lovely to get massages and sit on a beach and drink margaritas and hang with your peoples and all of that. But at the end of the day, if you want to be really satisfied, if you want to really feel content, if you want to feel fully alive, you have to have purpose and meaning. And purpose and meaning can be, you know, what you do for purpose and meaning can look very different for different people. For me, I love solving problems. That's why I like starting businesses, because there's a problem that can be identified and then figuring out how to solve that problem. To me, you know, it's energizing, and, you know, it's hard and all of that stuff, and, you know, the life of an entrepreneur, but it feeds me. And especially when it's tied to a social good, it's really impactful. So it energizes me. And that's what I want to be doing. I basically could afford to not work. I don't have to work. And I didn't have to put a lot of money into starting this company. But for me, it's really important. You know, there's this sort of concept called Maslow's hierarchy of need. Maslow is a therapist, I think, in the 50s, and it starts with, like, you need basic food and shelter, community, but the top of the triangle is self-actualization. So I think I'd like to self-actualize, which for me means living my life with meaning and purpose.
And for the young entrepreneur, the 14, 15-year-old, seeing everybody on Instagram and YouTube, you know, once they get their first $10, not even 10,000, but $10, they now have a, you know, $100,000 car, the big life. Here you have somebody who sold the business and said, you know, I want to put that money towards what the next phase, as the country song, my next 30 years. And if I'm thinking of songs, I think of what we were talking about before, anything by Callum Scott, and talking about the loneliness and the not being, you know, accepted by your closest loved ones, especially, you know, his father at that point. And those songs will make you cry. I don't care who you are. You'll be the toughest guy, because to not be accepted and it goes. There's so much right now with people just not being accepted. I think the comedians, all my comedian friends, need to listen to this, because comedians good ones are always depressed in some way. And so with that, the app, I know it's all confidential, but wow, would this not make a great reality show for those who do want to be heard and seen? Tell me, TV has come to you and said, you think you want a deal?
Well, you know, I have another company that I'm in the process of selling, and it's called Cuddlist, Cuddlast, and we're a professional cuddling service. So when I sold Atomic Wings, I wanted to do something to, like, solve loneliness. And I thought the easiest way to do that is connect people. What's the best, easiest way to connect? Through touch. How do you do it platonically, et cetera? And so we've had a lot of offers for reality TV shows. We've had a lot of press on that, and some of it's been very funny. Some of it's been, you know, really deeply understanding how people, you know, maybe you lost a loved one, or you're obese, or you're, you know, you have some clinical issues where you can't get touch, you're disabled. So that has had a slew of sort of like producers interested in at Hearme. If you're a producer out there and we can figure out how to keep anonymity, let me know.
And they're listening, and I'm nosy. So, you know, people ask me, Kellen, how do you know to ask these questions? It's about being a really nosy guy. And, you know, but Cuddlist, you know, I've seen the meetups where people, you know, meet up with the cuddle. Let's just talk about that real quick. How do you make sure you don't have creepers and they want to be more than cuddle? They want to grind and other things. Like, how do you weed those people out in the cuddle community? Because it's a real thing, you know, nationwide.
Yeah, so we're not doing cuddle parties, and I know about them. I've been to them. They're fantastic. But Catalyst connects people one-on-one. And essentially we empower the Catalyst practitioner. And remember, most of these people have been or they are massage therapists, they're doulas, they're energy workers, they're, high priestesses. These are people who are used to working one-on-one. They have this incredible gift and this incredible empathetic energy. Many of them are empaths, and this is sort of what they're on earth to do. So as a business person, I love having people that have all of these skills, but historically don't know how to monetize it, to give them essentially a way to make money doing what, like, for them is their purpose. In terms of the creepers, I mean, so there's a vetting process. And no one has to see anyone. You can't just book an appointment and show up. There's a intake. And basically, by the time someone's forking over $80 or $100 an hour, if you want to do something else, there are other ways to get it for similar prices or less. And, it's just, you're barking up the wrong tree, pretty much. So.
Now, education is changing. It feels good. I tell people to not have student loan debt, but, the thing is, we're in America, and it's easier to, get a loan, to go to school, buy a house, buy a car, heck, even buy a watch, buy anything. But education is even changing. I know you went to, Binghamton, the Bing. Can you talk about how much education helped you get here? Because there's somebody right now thinking, hey, I want to be just like you, Adam. Do I need to go to school to do this?
So there's a saying that, like, people who get C's in school hire people that got A's in schools. And so if you're a bad student, don't even worry about it. If the skills you need for an entrepreneur are grit, focus, tenacity, getting knocked in the head and getting back up, not taking no for an answer. I mean, those skills are very different than learning, than what you're taught in school. They don't teach grit. You can't teach grit. Maybe you can. I don't know. I haven't taken classes on entrepreneurship, but essentially, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to feel it in your bones, right? Because you're going to sacrifice, and it is very lonely. And the highs are incredible, but the lows are really incredible too. And you don't know when a paycheck's coming in, and blah, blah, blah. So, I don't think having a quote unquote good education means anything in terms of being able to start a company.
What about, you and starting your book, talking about your journey? I'm sure you do, public speaking, but, have you written a series of books? Are you working on anything?
Well, I write blog posts, so you can go to Hearme.App and read what I write on blogs. I have written for Medium, so I have a couple articles on Medium, and I've written for the Good Men Project. I think I've written some things on Thrive, so maybe I'll write a book one day. Right now I'm too immersed in what I'm doing, and I'm not there yet. I want to get to the point where I can say we are making a meaningful impact. But I'm waiting until this thing is fully scaled out, and then maybe I'll write a book.
And I'm thinking, when you say scaled out, I'm thinking with the metaverse and how Hearme. So you have to come to the Hearme metaverse, and you can get heard and go to this booth, that booth, get what you want done. I'm just thinking, y'all.
Yeah.
Hearme for folks with disabilities, whether maybe you can't see, maybe you can't hear. Is there something that can they also be part of the community? How does that work?
Yeah, it's completely, I don't want to say the wrong word, but it's completely accessible for people who are hearing impaired or sight impaired. And I'm going to plug someone's company right now. It's a company called Be My Eyes. BeMyEyes.app or BeMyEyes.com. It's this person that I know is the chief commercial officer, and they basically, if you're sight impaired or you're blind, you have the app, you press a button, and you'll be connected in real time with someone who can be your eyes. So let's say you're not sure, which can of soup is the one you want, or you don't know what color shirt is the green one, or you just need some help in real time. It's a fantastic company. So Be My Eyes, just giving him a shout out.
Awesome. And with Hear Me, you know, and I've saw some of the YouTube videos. You guys can definitely check out their YouTube. And you have people who have like real testimonies. They didn't just go to school. You know, one lady, she talked everything from her rape to her drug addiction, but she also served in the military. And, you know, and I'm like, wow, these are the type of videos that need to be out there that people need to hear, maybe like even in middle school, because that's where it starts, if not before. With that, you know, where, like, why is the government not have a contract with you? You know, like Elon Musk, you know, a couple years, not a couple, but you know, when Elon Musk was, oh, he might go broke, government has pushed it up. We all can drive a Tesla and do some, you know, solar panels. But Hear Me is something that we need. And if we don't get our neighbor right, we know they're going to come to our door eventually. Like, have you looked into any RFPs, government contracts out there that Hear Me can jump on for the communities?
We're working on it. In fact, yesterday I spent the entire day at New York City Health Tech Innovator Conference. And the main speaker was the head of human resources, or head of like the health department in New York City. And, you know, he's talking all this stuff and all these programs and all this. And I'm like, raised my hands and I said, you know, what about loneliness, right? What are you doing? Like England, like the country of UK has a minister of loneliness. What, you know, it's like you talk about all this stuff, but what about people being able to get stuff off their chest? It's wonderful. So anyway, we're going to have a conversation, I think early next week. So I think that what we do, my whole philosophy around this is we're a private sector solution to a public health crisis. So governments and government agencies should be partnering with us. And one of the cool things about that, you asked earlier about how people get paid. So let's talk about elderly, lonely people in New York City for a minute, right? We train up elderly, lonely people in New York to go through our training program. We can pay them $20, $25 an hour to listen to people in their community. That's powerful. It lifts up economically people in the community. It solves a lot of loneliness and a sense of disconnection. We know, unfortunately, brown and black people have a higher level of depression and anxiety. Why not hire people in those communities to support people in those communities, right? There's all these job trainings that are wonderful. Not everyone is going to become a technician. Not everyone is going to learn how to code. But what about people with lived experience? They know what it's like grinding for 25, 30 years, surviving. What about letting someone else who's going through that talk to them, right? Very safely, that's without any sort of like fronting or whatever. It's just like have an honest conversation. That's powerful. So we want to be able to bring that to communities all over.
No, that's awesome. And, you know, I mentioned Kenya earlier. I say that because I remember this BBC interview and they were talking about the abuse, especially in the more rural areas. And the man was like, they're killing themselves more in certain parts of Kenya, the men. And they said it's because our wives won't listen. And I'm a comedian, so, you know, so I'm like, your wives don't listen. Okay, that's a normal thing. But he's like, and we can't beat them anymore because the laws have changed. And I said, gosh, this is why, like, someone's supposed to feel sorry for you because you can't beat another human being anymore. So yeah, they need here.
So imagine that person, right? That's, you know, for good, bad, or indifferent, that's that person's honest experience and honest feeling. Right. What about if they can talk to someone else? Dude, I can't be, you know, I'm frustrated for these reasons. And that other person's got, I totally hear you. I'm frustrated too. I'm in the same situation. You know, maybe, you know, this is what I've done. You want to hear what I've done? See, maybe it's something you want to do, right? I take a walk around the block or whatever. But it's like you're asking permission if you want to hear what you're not saying, do this. Because, you know, as soon as someone tells you what to do, I know, don't fucking eat brownies at midnight because I won't sleep. People have told me, well, then just don't eat brownies. I'm not going to not eat that. You know, no one's going to, you know what's good for you. You don't do it anyway all the time. So being told what to do, you almost push back from it.
And it's always interesting. I'm saying this for someone particularly, but they're like, the wives don't listen. And I'm like, if you knew some friends who, you know, I have a friend, I was with her yesterday. She was telling me about her wife, but I know people, they'll say, oh, and my husband, right? And the guy will have a husband. And it's like, maybe people just don't listen because people don't listen to everything. It might just be a people thing, but it's interesting how we think, given our circumstances in life. You've talked about this whole interview, how you're going for sainthood, helping people after having a successful business, where, you know, you don't have to. You could have went the Trump way and just focused on yourself, and ran for governor, ran for mayor, whatever. But what's another community give back that you're doing or in the future you would like to do? That's my signature question, so I got to ask it.
Well, what I've done in the past, I was fairly active. A friend of mine's brother died of AIDS, and her name is Nancy Hirsch, so we had a foundation, you know, that raised money for people with AIDS. This is, you know, in New York. So I did that for many years. I've been involved with like nonprofit camp for years, but I think right now, the structural, systemic. So I guess if I could do anything, I'm trying to bend the curve and rethink. So right now we think of mental health as a mental illness, right? And when we think of like experts solving this problem, most of us are not problems to be solved. We're humans that live lives, right? And I think what we're doing is we're extending the amount of quote unquote providers, healthcare workers, if you will. We're creating an army of people that we're training to be there for other people. Even if you have, you know, great insurance, which many of us don't, finding a therapist is really difficult. You're in the Bay Area. Well, in Los Angeles, 2% of psychiatrists are Black and 3 to 4% of therapists are Black. So good luck anyone finding a therapist. Good luck affording that therapist, but good luck finding a therapist, you know, that you can relate to for cultural reasons, or right. And so we can connect people from similar backgrounds and experiences to have these conversations that they feel safe having. So an example is for our nurse population, right? We're in a hospital in New York City where we support the nurses. 62% of those nurses are non-white. They're primarily from the Caribbean. You know, we can hire and train nurses that have been there from the Caribbean, working in similar type of settings, to be there for them because they don't want to talk to, and I've been told many times, I don't want to talk to no 50-year-old white woman, right? If you're a university student of color, you want to feel like you're talking to someone that you can relate to. So that's not around in the whole mental health world. The cost of becoming a therapist, I mean, there's so much racism and systemic bias built into it. I mean, just the cost structure alone. So what we're trying to do, so that's kind of what I want to do. Like, that's my thing, you know, and as much as we can offer for free, we want to do that.
So I've worked for the Phoenix Academy and a slew of other places, but working with the kids apps, this makes sense even for organizations, you know, especially big ones like that can, you know, definitely afford it, because you sometimes for $25,000 a year don't always get the best workers who really want to hear even the people. It's shut up, sit down, play these video games for a lot of, you know, quote unquote counselors on title. But this is good stuff. I will say, Eric Adams, this would be something awesome to have, you know, for various things. We're going to talk offline, you guys. The best conversations always get told offline, but what I want to say next, I don't want to say to everybody. I just want to say it to Adam. So Adam, let them know where they can, you know, find you. They can go on the Google or iOS, whatever you Apple people do to download apps, but, you know, give them the game on where they can find you. Any last word.
The app is just Hearme on the App Store, you know, Google, and so Hearme on the App Store. For me, it's Adam Lippin, Lippin. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. LinkedIn's the best way to personally reach out to me. There's an you know, email on the website. I forget what it is, but, you know, I'll get to it. I mean, you know, if you put, you know, I want to reach out to Adam, you know, it'll get to me. If you're a nonprofit organization that works with a particular population that you think Hearme could benefit, please let me know. We love working with local organizations to support their populations. It's very important to us. So yeah, Adam Lippin, you can Google me, Adam, on LinkedIn's probably the easiest way.
You guys have been blessed by the game. Make sure you share this with someone. It will change their life. Be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.